this was awful. And I'm going to give Dak the benefit of the doubt that he wasn't fully healthy or that he was rusty. They had the bye. He misses a game because, I mean, Dak at one point, they showed that he was like 5 of 16 for 70-some yards. And it was 30-0 with 5 minutes left. 30-16 is wildly misleading. The Broncos dominated every single phase of this game. And this is awful for Dallas. Dallas had a real shot, and I guess still has, a real shot at the 1 seed. But you got to win these types of games. You know who the Broncos think they are? Not any good. You know how I know that? They traded away their best defensive player midseason at 4-4 because they know they're not doing anything this year. Dallas has to win that game, Greg. And all of a sudden you look at Dallas, it's like, hey, what's the next month look like? Oh, Atlanta? Oh, the all of a sudden 500 Atlanta Falcons? At Kansas City, the all of a sudden above 500 Kansas City Chiefs, home for the Raiders, and then at New Orleans. That next month is the toughest month of their season. To go into it with a loss, where if we're being honest, Greg, they looked like they overlooked the Broncos. That, to me, is an indictment on coaching to a degree. It's an awful loss. Now, do I still think they're an excellent team? I do. But I think that that loss will resonate throughout the rest of the year as they fight for playoff seeding, as they fight for the 1 seed.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you're saying. I just don't agree with it was more than a blip. I think it was just a blip. This is what Dak Prescott said in the press conference. We were just bad. They were bad in every and all aspects. Offensively, defensively, special teams, you name it, they were bad. And the reason why I believe it to be a blip is because prior to Dak Prescott getting injured, this team averaged 35 points a game. So we know that they can put up points. They can light up the scoreboard. Defensively, they create turnovers. They didn't do that. They gave up so many big plays, which is something that they have to fix, which is they've done that all year, but they've never not scored points, Nick. This is wild. So when I look at this team, this had to be a blip. Amari Cooper had not had a drop all year, and he has a drop. It's you have these types of games, you take them on the chin, and you move forward. Should they have won it? Yes. Trap game, you can't overlook any opponent. Not saying that they did, but typically that's what happens when you expect to be the team like the Denver Broncos coming into your house.
All right, so Greg, I want to break down 3 types of losses, big blowout losses. So the first big blowout loss that I'm okay with, if you get out-schemed. The opposing team figures something out about your team, exploits it over and over and over. Second type of loss, like, we weren't at full strength. We saw that's more of like the Chiefs last year in the Super Bowl. Offensive line is banged up, we weren't at full strength, and everything kind of falls apart from there. Also, I'm generally okay with that. This loss, though, is an effort and focus loss, which I'm not okay with at all, and I think is a real cause for concern. If we can put up Dak's quote, Dak's basically like, yeah, we weren't paying attention. When you win a game like we did last week against the Vikings on the road in a tough environment with everything going against us, I think sometimes you can think you can just roll out there and get it done. Leighton Vander Esch also said, need this to happen so we stay awake. Greg, these quotes to me show me a team that is not used to winning. That won 6 games, and all of a sudden it's like, you know what? We looked at the analytics, and the Dallas Cowboys have never started 6-1 and not made the playoffs, so let's take our foot off the gas. I don't know how much of it is coaching, Nick blamed coaching, or how much of it is on the players. I feel like if I was wearing a Dallas Cowboys star, I wouldn't need Mike McCarthy to yell at me to get up for one of the 17 games I play in the entire year. So do you put it on coaching? Do you put it on the players? And do you think is the lack of focus is as big a deal as I do?
Well, I'll say this. I think all of it played a part. And I think the lack of focus is a big deal. However, I'm not just going to say the Cowboys just lost this game. The Denver Broncos came in and punched them in the mouth every single time they had an opportunity to. And that's what caused them to stumble. That's what caused them to not be able to look the same as we've seen them in the past, throwing the ball, Dak Prescott putting the game on his shoulders. They couldn't turn around and just say, here, let's run the ball with our two-headed monster in the backfield. They could never get it going because their primary source of offense and energy comes from their quarterback. And he was off, whether that be because of the calf injury, whether that be because of, like Nick, you alluded to, the time off. However, it played a role and it showed up and it came to bite them. The Broncos got the better of them.
And there's a few things that should be noted. One is Tyron Smith was out, and this Cowboys team for 5 years now has just been one team with Tyron Smith, one team without Tyron Smith, which is a problem because he misses time somewhat regularly. The other thing should be noted, to a little bit, the book is out on Trayvon Diggs. He now has to adjust to the adjustment, right? Teams are taking advantage now of some of his aggressiveness. We've seen it a few weeks in a row. I think he's a great player, not a good player, a great player. He'll adjust, but that's the next step in his progression. But just quickly, Wilds, I do have a question for you. Because you said something kind of, flippantly. You were like, if I was a Dallas Cowboy, I wouldn't need the coach to get me pumped up for one of the 17 games. What is it that Mike McCarthy does then? I'm just curious. He doesn't run the defense. He doesn't. No, I get Kellen Moore runs the offense. He's terrible at game management. So what's left on the coach's platter? Press conferences, I suppose. Well, he just lies to folks in those. Yeah. He told us that. And what's the last thing? Oh, yeah, motivation. Okay, he's not a great X's and O's coach, but my God, does he motivate us? Nope. So, yeah, I'm going to put some of this on coaching. If the coach, who's not your defensive coach, who's handed over the offense to someone else, who's terrible at game managing, can't even get you motivated for a game that you're a 10-point favorite at home, then again, I've got to ask you, Jenna, the old Office Space, what is it you would say you do around here? Just tell me, because I can't figure it out.
Meeting sponsors.
Yeah, thanks.
It's a big job. It takes a lot of time.
Go ahead, Greg.
Look, Nick, I'm not going to let you just bash Mike McCarthy like that. Look, there's a lot that he does.
Oh, Greg's back.
There is a lot that he does. And what the misnomer when it comes to head coaching is, or the expectation is, you got to either be the play caller on defense or the play caller on offense. Well, if you are the play caller on offense, then what do you have an offensive coordinator for? So you have to learn how to delegate. When you're in business, when you are at the top, when you're in ownership, when you are at the head, you must learn the art of delegation. It does not mean that what you do is any less effective or valuable. You have to trust that the pieces that you've designed and have put together are for a reason and for purpose, and allow them to use their skill set to the betterment of the team. Yes, Mike McCarthy does struggle in areas. He does struggle with game management, but he handles all the other things. He works on that every single week, regardless of how it shows up on Sunday. He still works on it. The Dallas Cowboys worked on all their plays this past week. Regardless of what they worked on, it didn't look like they worked on much. So, yes, when you have a bad game, you can highlight all these negative things and question what someone does and what someone doesn't do. The team has lost 2 games all year. They've won a lot more.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.